The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Stand up and live your life. Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Hands up high.
How you doing, alright? Right, yeah? With the camera a bit home for you. This one's called The Seeker.
Welcome to the Rise Above show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini. We have announcements today. I just want to announce that we want to thank Marie, Meal Prep Vegas. She does meal prep. Her phone number is 624-9286, and she does customized meal plans for people, whether you're dieting or you just want to eat healthy, whatever. You call her, get on her website, and she will customize your meals. And we want to thank Jay Jung from City Athletic Club for also partnering with our show.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So today I wanted to talk about what seems to be society's new drug. And what I'm talking about is instant gratification. So this show, we can go in a lot of different directions. So just kind of bear with us, because I think it affects every area of your life. And, you know, I was thinking about this, how it affects sports. It affects music. It affects people's attitudes. It affects school. It affects businesses that are trying to deal with people that want instant gratification. So instead of trying to make people better, they want to make money. So they just try to fill in that gap, and they try to make things easier for people. And in a sense, we're losing a lot of stuff. And as I was thinking about this, part of it, you could say that instant gratification is just another way that we can all celebrate mediocrity. And it's another way that Western civilization is declining, you know, as you look around. What do you think?
It's true. It's everywhere. No matter what you do, whatever career choice you're in. But unfortunately, as a society, we reward that. Like, we reward that kind of behavior, whether it's, you know, in your job where you just say, oh, the heck with it. You know, I can't teach this person, so I'm just going to let them slide, you know. So people, they slide through and they think that, you know, that they're good at something. And, of course, then they want the instant gratification to be told that how awesome they are, you know. And, you know, relationships, too, and you think about social media and things like that, was Facebook and Instagram. It's the instant gratification. Somebody sees your picture and they go, oh, you look amazing. They put a like on it. You know, people are getting this false sense of greatness that they really haven't earned it. They've just kind of been able to manufacture something, which we know through music and entertainment and a bunch of things. We have like a gazillion great musicians right here in Las Vegas that's local talent that you can go to the Sand Dollar, you can go down to the Strip to a lot of the, you know, local bars in the area, and you can listen to an awesome guitar player or band and go, why are these people not famous? You know, but a lot of times it's just a marketing strategy. That's in the gratification that they think they're amazing because they're selling something to the other people that are just as into the self-gratification as they are. They're superficial in a sense, so they buy into the whole marketing, you know, with entertainers. You know, one for me was like Britney Spears. You know, I don't want to bag on her because she makes a lot of money and she's who she is and all that, but when she was real famous a few years ago, I never got it. But again, you know, she gets instant gratification because she's not that talented at the end of the day. Right. And yet she's got a fan base that's unbelievable. And, you know, that's what they want. So, you know, she gets rewarded for just being okay. You know, but right. Real musicians that really, you know, bleed and sacrifice and, you know, are really talented, they go under the radar, and they have to be okay with maybe not being, you know, getting the self-gratification of, they have to be okay with them in themselves knowing that they're good at what they do.
Right, and in the capitalistic society, they may not get paid.
But as a society, we reward it. We reward mediocrity, and we reward that whole mentality, the self-gratification, because we go, you know what, you're not that good, but you know what, you're paying me, so we're going to let you slide. We're going to let you through. It's true. You know, and that's with everything, you know, that's going on today. You know, even politics, everybody's got their hands in everybody's pockets. You know, a lot of these people don't know what the hell they're doing, but, you know, they get rewarded for doing nothing. You know, you think about the Congress, you know, you can go that far back. You know, those people sit in Congress for how many years doing shit. You know, we voted those people in, and they still get their benefits when they resign or they quit or whatever they do. And it's, you know, they're not that good at what they do either, but we go, oh, it's okay. We're going to still reward you with full benefits and whatever you need when you retire.
So to practice what I preach, because I've been noticing this instant gratification, you can't get it. You can't get past it. Like, even though I live as a bodybuilder and I'm supposed to be, doing the right things at the right time, and it takes me a long time to get where I'm going, and I've gone through school and all that. Yes, I've gone through the process of delayed gratification. But then I was starting to notice how this stuff is really creeping in on my life. And one of the things that I really love, and since I was a little kid, is watching football. And I was telling Heidi this at the beginning of this football season, which just started last week, by the way. I was like, I really haven't enjoyed football the last 2 years that much. And I'm thinking, why? Why? But then it hit me. What happened is I thought I was doing a good thing. I've got the NFL package, right? We got that. Which means I can watch 10 games at the same time. And so you start flipping from one game to the other to the other. What you start noticing is if there's a game that's 17-0, you switch to a game that's closer. And then when the other game gets close, you kind of don't care as much anymore because you don't know how they got there. So there's no drama. And this kind of hit me during the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl, there's only obviously one game, and Atlanta was winning 28-3. Now, if it was during a regular Sunday, I, like everybody else, instant gratification, because I'm affected by it too, I would have clicked next game. But in the Super Bowl, you're focused in. And you're like, oh God, I have to watch this. It's 28-3. But lo and behold, you ended up being a witness to one of the greatest games in football history. And it's because you were able to sit in and watch the incredible drama all the way to the end. And that's what made it good. That's what clicked it in. So this year, I've already started. NFL package, I have access to the games, but I'm choosing one at a time. I'm following the drama. Last week I watched the Raiders game, and it was great. I love when somebody gets hurt, and then they come back later in the game and prove that they can still play. It shows toughness, it's inspiring, and you root for them more. And this whole thing of just aiming for the who's ever going to score really is, in the end, again, to say it's superficial. It leaves me not feeling good, and it feels like at the end of a Sunday that I've watched no games. It's really interesting how that works, at least for me. The thing I could compare it to, the other thing that was really bad on the NFL package, they have something called the red zone. In this, they show all the games at the same time, but they only click into the game where somebody's going to score. So literally, you're just watching one pass or one run into an end zone, and then they flip to the other game, to the other game, to the other game. It reminds me of really bad porn, right? Like to where, I mean, not for anything, but in your sex life, I'm hoping it's not all about the orgasm, right? Like life has become no foreplay. And with no foreplay, who cares about the outcome? Well, that was a weird play in terms, but did we have a comment from the peanut gallery over there? So really, we've become a society that's just looking for the money shot, so to speak, and there's nothing to build it up. There's no characters in the play. There's no drama.
But that's where the self-esteem issue comes in. We talk all the time about, why don't these kids, I'm really hopeful that like my daughter's generation, the 20-somethings that are coming up, their mentality is going to change because it has to. It has to. And
I hope so.
And where that comes from, though, it comes from people my age or maybe a little bit younger than me being role models and setting examples. And when you give a child instant gratification, I just had a story told to me today, and I very quietly was doing this client's hair, and I had to be quiet. And for me, that's a very difficult thing. And I've raised a kid. And she said, yeah, my child had to do this project for school, and they want this, that, and the other thing done. And she goes, I went out and bought all the supplies for it. And she said, and my husband comes in and says, why are you doing that for him? Why isn't he doing it? Oh, he'll never be able to do this. He'll never have it in on time. So the mother, and she shows me this amazing thing that she did. She had pictures all along the sides, and his pictures, the family pictures, his activity pictures. And I thought, well, how self-satisfying is that going to be, that kid? The kid is going to be like, his teacher might say, you have like the best project in the class, so he gets instant gratification that he did. This is mine. Everybody's admiring it. But he really didn't contribute to it. It was, let's test the parents. Let's see what parent is the most creative. That's what I was going through my head. Let's see what parent is more creative, not where this come from the child. So, in that situation, you're not teaching your kid, even at a preschool level, because the kid's preschool, how to have self-esteem by, even if it's the shittiest looking one in the group. But what do we determine that by? When you're looking at art or you're looking at somebody's creativity, that's subjective. That's basically, who are you to judge somebody else's? But at the same time, if somebody was to look at that and go, well, how come this isn't there? Why is this missing? Why is this color? You can critique the young person, and they could go back and say, I like what I did. Or, maybe next time when I do it, I'll be more aware of where I'm placing my pictures or the color coordination that I have, whatever it might be. They learn to get better. Or they can also have the self-esteem to say, you know what? I like what I did, and I don't really care what that teacher says or somebody else. But when you hand the child the project and go, here, give this to your teacher, you're done. You haven't taught them anything, but the child will get the gratification that the project was done on time, and the teacher's going to say, what an amazing child you are that you got this assignment done. How awesome does that look? What were we going to say, John?
Don't you think that a majority of the teachers, or at least some percentage of the teachers, are going to know you didn't do this?
But this is what goes back to John. They know it, but now here we go. We're going to go one step forward, backwards, whatever. The teacher at that point, this is not to blame anybody, but when I said earlier that we perpetuate the behavior by rewarding it, as an instructor, as a teacher, you would say, you know what, class, we need to take these projects home that are beautiful, that your parents did, and I want them done again. And I want them done by you.
Right.
It's the same thing when you're personally training somebody.
Or do them here in class.
Okay, here's the thing.
There you go.
You do them in class together, know that it's legit. The other thing is when I do a hair service on a client, if they don't like their hair, the instant gratification I get out of that is when they go, I love my hair, you're the best hairdresser in Vegas, blah, 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 whatever. Then I go, okay, good, I did a good job, I got paid, next. But sometimes there's a client that comes in that doesn't like what you do, and now you have to have the self-esteem to be okay to put your ego away and go, okay, well, what don't you like, and have that conversation and fix it and make it right. So in a lot of things, it's the same thing when you're personally training somebody. I'm not an expert. I haven't been in it as long as Joe has, but I have clients that I train, and I have to tell you, I do them a disservice by either being on my phone. You see trainers in the gym, they're on their phone, they're not paying attention to their client, they're bullshitting. They're talking about whatever they talk about. They're not correcting their client's form because they're lazy, or they don't care. I don't even know. But at the end of the day, you're not, as adults, we're not even serving adults the right way by saying, oh, that's amazing, you look great, you're doing a great job. No, your form sucks, and I'm not counting that rep, and we're going to do it again. And we're going to keep doing it till you do it right. But the point is that now there's a consequence to me, because if I push that envelope too far and just, I become the tyrant, trainer, the client quits. Because now all of a sudden they're not used to it. They're not used to being made to do something to a certain specification or standard. So now they go, well, I'm not training with you because you're too hard on me. So, we've turned into a society of, instant gratification. You look good no matter what, even when you don't look good, and now we see it in the bodybuilding.
I got plenty to say about that.
And, you see it and you go, wow, this is like amazing that you have to see it's so fake, and it's so, they don't realize even themselves are doing themselves a disservice for later on, because this is a lifelong thing to have a healthy body and a physique. It's not this flash in the pan mentality that I'm going to take a boatload of drugs or not. Not everybody that does bodybuilding does drugs. But there's not a lot of hard work put into it. There's this genetic thing that's going on that, you take all the genetic freaks on the planet and you put them in bodybuilding and put them on some drugs and they go, yeah, you guys are the best. The problem with that is that they're not. They're getting rewarded for mediocrity because, again, it's about, let's see how much money we can bring in. I'll tell you whatever you need to hear as long as you pay me the money. So we complain about it, and we talk about the instant gratification. It's the same thing with, say you have a fight with your partner. I hear this all day. You hear this too, being a counselor, that you have a disagreement with your partner, and next thing you know, you're going on Facebook, you're going on the sites, and the first person that gives you the time of day, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to leave my partner because I want the instant gratification of feeling good because I had a disagreement today with my partner. And then, of course, they're rewarded for their behavior some way because the rest of the society's doing it. So everybody else just kind of goes, well, so what? I'm on Facebook all day long. I'm on all the social sites. So what's the big deal? The person should be in control of what they're doing. And that's true. But when you have low self-esteem, which definitely comes with not having to stand up to a level of performance. When I was in beauty school, it was the same thing. When I assisted my first owner, Dino, I mean, there was no such thing as that's okay. It was do it again, and I want it done my way because this is the way that's going to make you money. And I remember crying. I remember wanting to quit the job. I remember thinking, I don't want to be this hairstylist. I remember, even now, I team myself up when I train with the hardest trainers I can get because I don't want a trainer just going to me, that's good, and then take my money. I want that trainer to tell me, you look like shit, you're not doing it right, and you're going to keep doing it until it's done right. But the kids today, you got to watch it because they're a little soft. So if you say too much, and not just the kids, I was telling Joe, we want to dump all this on these kids and say, the millenniums are this and the kid. But I for one, I am around a lot of young kids, and I think there's those kids that, have entitlements and all that. And you know where that comes from. It comes from the parents and the rest of us that let them slide. And then you got the kids that are, they're trying their best. They're old souls. I believe this. That, the old musicians, they're learning how to play the 80s classical rock music on their guitars and their drums. You can YouTube it, and you find these amazing musician kids that are so young. But again, you got to look at that and go, well, what kind of parents do they have and what kind of adults are they around? That I don't believe that everybody is letting everybody slide. I think what makes it difficult is that you always have to fight against the mediocrity because unfortunately that's the majority right now.
Right.
So when you do try to go against it, or you say this isn't correct, you're going to be standing on the outside for a while. But I think it's going to come full circle. It has to.
You said so many things. It's like there's a ton of it. Let me go back to the beginning. And I 100% agree. Listen, I can't blame kids, right? Like they have parents. Like you come into this world and you're like a blank slate. So how your environment is. Let's go back to the parents doing the child's homework. The first problem we have with this is that we have narcissistic parents that are so concerned about their child not looking like they're getting an A. So they're going to do the work. So then you have that gratification from the parent saying, oh, I don't want anybody to think my kid is anything less than an A. So they don't allow their kid to learn. So they stop that progress by doing the work for them. Then the kid, somewhere down the line, unfortunately, they do get some encouragement and they do get some gratification because somebody says, look, you have an A. And everybody goes, oh my God, that's great.
But it's a fake A.
But it's a fake A, which is what I'm getting at. So now, do we blame the kid on that one too for feeling good about getting an A when everybody's patting him on the back? I say no. I say you're pulling the wool over the kid's eyes. The kid doesn't know any better. So the kid thinks it's good that he's got an A or she's got an A, but somewhere inside, when your conscious reality is up against your unconscious, subconscious reality, and it doesn't quite compute, there's a distortion there, that's the creation of anxiety. And that anxiety that I've noticed never leaves these kids.
No,
because it's dumped onto them, number one, from, we have a tough environment, I get that. But it's really pushed onto them by their parents who are telling them they're so great, when the kids deep down inside, they know they're not. So now they have to put on this false air about themselves, and they become narcissistic also. So eventually down the road of getting all these A's and these projects that were supposedly so good, now they have to go out in the real world and prove it, and now they can't. So that's where they become this problem too, and everybody starts making fun of them, saying, well, you can't handle stress, you're not resilient. Well, it's because people have created that, and it's because of this instant gratification type of society where we're just patting everybody on the back and we're not allowing people to go through all the mistakes that it takes to become better.
I remember being in school when I was younger, and I knew I was not a brain. I could say that, and I don't care. Things came really difficult to me, and so I realized at a very young age that I wasn't the genius kid sitting next to me, and that I'd have to work hard at everything that I did as far as grade-wise went. And I don't think that, I think it's okay for some people to realize that, they could be more into a trade type job, career type thing, and, go off into other things. But most of the things in the schools today, what they're doing is they're testing. So everything right now is about testing. So the kids are being taught for a test. They're not being taught to learn. So that's another way that this instant gratification comes in. You've got the kids that are good test takers. We've all proven this, that you can have a kid that's maybe higher intellectually in a test taking than a guy that is really smart, but when you put him in front of a test, he freezes. He can't, his brain shuts down. But yet you put that same guy that can't pass that test, or woman, in that job, and they're amazing at it because they know the hands-on approach and they know the common sense part of it, and the instant gratification of it they're not getting because they have to work at it. When you have to work at things, that's what builds self-esteem, rather than people handing you things all the time.
Right, that's true. And I like you said, it affects everything. Like, I remember we went to school, they had a big push towards physical education. We had music class, we had art class, we also had what was it, like I think we had like a thing where you did like metal and stuff.
Yeah, metal class. That was fun. I made a light.
Class,
Shop class. I made a light.
Metal.
I loved it.
Yeah, and people were learning how to fix cars.
Yeah,
in
I
high
loved it.
school.
We made a light.
And I think this is what happened too. Narcissistic parents go, I don't want my child to be a plumber. He needs to go to she needs to go to a 4-year school, get a great education. So we sold them this false bill of goods that everybody with an education is going to automatically do well. You don't have to work hard. Just party a little bit, or actually party a lot, go to class, get your grades, kind of, because everybody's going to give you an A anyway, because schools want to get paid. And when you get out, you'll have this like $100,000 a year job waiting for you. The problem is that these millennials, they have amazing educations. They also have like $100,000 worth of student loans, and they have no job to pay that off, unless of course you talk about working at Starbucks or something like that. And I'm not making fun of them, it's just there's no middle ground anymore, because when I went to school we had BOCES and you could take all these other things to do. Where are the 2-year certifications where you can learn how to do plumbing? You can learn. John, help me out. You're in construction, right? Am I wrong? Can you find anybody who does construction anymore?
Yeah, and there's a whole generation of people missing from the construction industry, basically.
So I'm correct.
And everybody, they're carpenters, electricians, plumbers. Somebody has to do that.
Right.
And that is and I think I just read an article, I think it's Germany, if I remember correctly. If you are in a trade, if you are a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're a mechanic, any of the carpenters, they are very, very well respected in that country. So it's not like, just if you have a job, whatever that job is, you are a staunch member of that society. It's not that, the guy who works at McDonald's is looked down upon. Someone has to do that.
Right, of course.
And someone has to come and fix your plumbing, because you sure as hell don't know how. Not you personally, but
that is personally true too.
That's what I'm saying. But when I went to high school, which was just before the turn of the century, no, the other century. But we had wood shop,
right?
We had metal shop. We had what they called shop, which was learning how to work on cars and just the basics,
right?
And all of the things, electric and all of that you came out of high school with a basic knowledge of how the hell a car runs, where to put the oil, how to put air in your tires, how to put gas in the car, just the basics of a combustion engine.
Right.
And learn not to stick a pair of tweezers in a light socket. And, it's just, I am just blown away at the people, men or women, that have no clue how the world around them works. They have no clue.
Right. So in going with that, because this is kind of where I'm going, but you know more than I do. You were into construction.
Of course I do.
Yeah. Well, in this area. But that's the whole base of self-esteem, isn't it?
Yeah,
like how if you don't know how the world works and you don't know what you're doing in your basic life, how are you going to have any self-esteem? I would say if a
Well,
person
no,
is-
and that's the sad part.
Right.
Is these people think they have self-esteem,
yes,
and it's all bullshit.
exactly
Because it's the hardest thing in the world for me, and like you said earlier, is keeping your mouth shut when you have a client or whatever that is so far out in left field, and you wonder how the hell do they dress themselves in the morning.
right.
Sorry,
You know,
hit
it's
one
like
of my pet peeves there, man.
Well, it comes
I
down
got
to
you.
it's a livelihood thing for me. So it's kind of like that's what I talked before about, even with the training thing. If I was to be honest with that client and say, "Why are you doing that?" You know, the consequence for me, and again, you know, I kind of perpetuated that behavior by not saying anything, is I don't get paid and I could lose a client because of my opinion. So I think as a society, we've learned to draw back. We all think something, but especially if there's money involved in it, you kind of think twice about, do I really want to be honest with this person right now and put my projection on them, because I'm going to lose a client over
It's
it. If I didn't care
very
about your money, or
difficult.
your money wasn't helping me with my lifestyle, then, you know, because I get into it at least once a day with somebody, but they're not
But
usually.
that's a choice that you've made. That's a conscious choice that you make. All right, and you're not doing it out of stupidity.
No, I'm not stupid.
That's
But that's what I
exactly
get
right.
a
And
lot
you're
of
saying,
too. Like,
okay, I have weighed all of the facts here, and I've decided that keeping my mouth shut is
Doesn't-
smarter than showing off and saying you're an idiot. That's what.
no,
we
it
don't-
doesn't make you stupid. And the thing I've run into it's like a double whammy, because I'm a woman on top of it, is sometimes when I am quiet or I don't, what you just said, I get treated like I'm stupid, like exactly what you said. And it's
Right.
like, wait a minute, I'm not stupid. I'm pretty smart. But the fact that I'm not calling you out on your bullshit right now doesn't make me stupid. It just makes me go, you know, is it really that important? Because obviously I'm not. The passion with the way this conversation was, there was no way that whatever I said to her in that moment was going to change.
Oh yeah.
She was thinking she was doing the right thing, and I just did her hair. I thought at the end of the service, I'm going to get paid. She's going to go home to her kid and, you know, create some more dysfunction, you know, that a therapist gets to fix in about 10 years from now. You
And
know?
I'll tell you that the therapist cannot fix it, because the parent knows
You got another
more.
client, Joe.
Because the parent knows more than the therapist, because they Googled it last week.
Yeah.
Right? We forget that.
Well, and don't take away from that, because there is some value to, you know, being able to find some information. The problem is that people never go deep enough.
It's
It's
like
exactly.
they say, don't use the
Yeah.
information
They read
against
the
me,
headline, they don't
you
read
know?
the article.
Yeah,
that's all
well,
they take away.
Yeah, but okay, so let's enhance what you just said, right?
I saw a perfect one.
They look at the headline, right?
Right, I
But they
saw a
don't look at the
perfect
article.
one, and it was an email that I got that said, let's all say goodbye to Sally Fields. So the first thing that pops into your head, oh my God, Sally Fields died. Had absolutely nothing to do with that. But that's, if you had not read that article, that's what you would think. Oh my God, Sally Fields died. Hey, did you hear Sally Fields died?
Yeah.
Right, and but it goes back to what I said in the beginning, right? It's all orgasm, no foreplay.
Right.
So that's kind of how we run everything. It's interesting when you say that, because that's something that's so difficult that I have a fight with all the time. Because I have this thing about, okay, yeah, capitalism is supposed to be the greatest thing ever. Okay, let's say it is. But there's a lot of problems in it, because Nietzsche would call it the de-evolution, right? Like whenever you say that the mass of people is what runs the country, right? Like if you live in a democracy, whoever has more people on one side of a point of view, they win.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is that if more people believe in something than not, typically that's the lowest common denominator of people. It's the lowest thing. We're not always going to agree that Jean-Luc Ponty is a great musician. Most people would be like, I don't know who that is. That's the point. But you know who Britney Spears is? So by just default, we have to say that Britney Spears is one of the greatest musicians in American music history.
Well, she
We
does
know
have
that
better
that's not true.
boobs.
And I know you know who Jean-Luc Ponty is too. So really what we're doing is, it's really difficult, like to make that choice, to go home at night when I walk through the door and say, instant gratification. I wanted to tell a client A or B or C, but I didn't think that person was willing to hear it and still pay me. So you hold back. Now, is that the right or wrong thing to do? It's tough, because if you want to try to feed your family, you might have to do a little bit of de-evolutionizing yourself, and you're dumbing yourself down, which is a really difficult thing to do, which is what, unfortunately, you do sometimes, right?
But
I think
there
we all
can be
do
a
it.
time and a place for that where it is acceptable, and you can do that.
Right.
And it's in business or in school or whatever, where you have a group setting.
Mm-hmm.
It serves no purpose in confronting an individual in front of other people.
True.
Or telling them that they're screwed up or they did something wrong, or belittling them. But if you get them off to the side and say, hey, look, what you did here was wrong, and here's why.
Right.
Then you have accomplished something, because you have a better chance that they will listen to you, because if you do it in a group setting, they're going to rebel and go the other way and go, fuck you, you're out of your
Exactly.
mind, just so that they can,
Yeah, they got to
because of
say
peer pressure.
they got to save face.
Right.
But see, like, you and I can have that conversation, right?
Right.
We were raised differently, but there's a lot of people that have never even been confronted by their own parents.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're like, okay,
but
so
do
listen.
you blame the parents, or do you blame the grandparents, or the great-grandparents, or the great-great-grandparents? Because we are all conditioned. Part of our makeup is conditioned by our environment.
But I also believe,
True.
John, that as a community, and this is where the problem is that we don't raise anybody anymore in a village mentality. What you said in other countries, people are, no matter what your job is, you're considered of value to the community.
Right.
So what's happened though in our community is that as a mother, I was a wife at one point and all that, doing all these things, you should be able, they say it doesn't matter, there's like a Buddhist talking, they say it doesn't matter how the message is received and who it's from, as long as it's received. And I had a struggle with this with my daughter, raising her, that I didn't get jealous of other people, but I had a babysitter, and she was amazing with my daughter, and I was lucky. She came to my home, and it was like having a grandmother there. I could go to work my 30 hours a week, get out of the house, do my thing. And there was a part of me that got jealous because my daughter started to become, really attached to her.
And would listen to her,
And
she
she'd
could tell
cry.
your daughter the same
Right.
thing.
So when
that you
Ava
would
got
tell
older,
her.
she
Yeah.
said, listen, and then it was when she was much older. Sue gave me a lesson in that too about Ava, and she said, listen, you're her mom. You're always going to be her mom. I'm just, thank God that she's like that, and you're not, she's not crying and everything, or, Mom, I don't want that lady here. She
Right.
cries because she misses me and wants me to come back. But when she got older and I was having issues with Ava, and other people could talk to my daughter, and I used to say, what the hell is wrong with me that I can't talk to my own kid? But on the receiving end of that,
You're
I have
the parent.
clients that I've trained their kids. I've had conversation with their kids. I do it now, and they'll hang on every word you say, and it doesn't matter. But as a society, we're responsible to do the correction at some point. Maybe that isn't your kid. Maybe that isn't your concern. But if they're working for you, or they're with you, and you see something wrong going on, I think to be a good role model, or to be maybe, but like you say, you gotta weigh your words and weigh where you're at.
Look at
So-
Albert Einstein. I mean, he is without a doubt the most brilliant man that's ever come across the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? To his sons and his wife, he was an asshole. So it's just a matter.
Yeah,
of
but it's always
perspective.
that way, because even when you're in a relationship,
Look
like,
at John
you
Lennon.
ca-
Look at Julian
that's-
Lennon.
Right.
Exactly.
Julian Lennon did not have the same experience with John Lennon that we all did.
Right.
Because when you start putting real intimacy into things opposed to artificial,
Right.
What's that word?
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Okay, when you have to emotionally connect to somebody, it's a lot different. There's a lot more at stake than if you can be superficial with people. When you're in business, and I hate to say this, there is a lot of superficial bullshit that goes
Sure.
on, because there's a transaction. So I'm gonna tell you how awesome you are. Pay me at the end of the day. I'll fake it to make it. I'm getting paid. When you're in a relationship, you can't fake it to
Right.
make it. You have to be the real person, because then that other person can decide whether you're the person they want to be with. Okay, I'm not sleeping with my clients. I don't even, you know what I mean? There's a totally different thing.
Right.
And it's the same thing when it comes to the children. There should be the right of another grown adult to be able to do a little correction, or a little, lead them another way. It doesn't mean they're going to go that way. It just means that they're getting a different perspective perspective on what's going on.
But do you think, and let's take your daughter, do you think that at this point in her life you can look at her and say, she did get that lesson, she got that lesson, she got that lesson, I was not talking to a post?
I do now because she's older, and
Right,
I'm
that's
seeing it
my
now.
point.
I'm seeing it now. She's 22 years old, but she would tell you, and a lot of people, I was tough. I'm still tough. It's one of those things. I look at it.
But look at the individual that she turned out to be.
Yeah, but
from what I've met,
I'm not going to be
super
around. This is the way I look at it. I'm doing my daughter a disservice to say everything is easy. One of the things I learned early on, my father told me this, right?
It's not.
He said, listen, you weren't born rich. So I'm going to tell you right now, Heidi Marie. And that's what he always used to call me, Heidi Marie. It was never Heidi. It was my full and second name. He'd say, you need to get a trade. You need to get a job. You need to do something and do something, that makes you happy. His whole thing was make you happy. It wasn't, my dad never said make a lot of money. He never said marry a rich guy. He never said anything. It was always about just do something, fulfilling. And because he used to say, I'm not going to be here forever, Heidi Marie, and I don't want to see you in a situation someday. And the thing with my daughter, it's the same thing. I said, life is hard, Ava, and she's seeing it now because she's in customer service a little bit. She works in a bakery, and she gets the idiots that come up there. And I said, listen, it's not your job to say, well, this person has money, so they're acting like that. I know people have money, they don't act like that. What your job is to do your job, and if you can't do it, refer them to your manager. But when she was younger, I had to basically say to her, you go live with your father. He's letting you do all this garbage. Go right ahead. Do your drugs, quit school, do whatever the hell you want to do. I went into a mental institution and saw my daughter. She had cuts up and down her arms, and I remember they gave her back to my ex-husband. And, so that whole system screwed up too, and that's another whatever. But I remember standing outside this hospital going, I am like the most fucked up mother on the planet. What is wrong with me that my kid does not want to be with me? I'm trying to do everything right. Well, I was doing mostly everything right, and I made my mistakes with being a hovering mother, which she said, Mom, you were one of those helicopter moms. And I go, okay, I'm sorry, but you were my only kid, and I didn't want you to feel a lot of stuff sometimes. But now that she's 22, she's getting it, and I get more respect from her now. She listens to what I say now with maybe not, she won't give me the satisfaction though of saying, Mom, you're right. She'll listen and she'll go do it. And you know what? I don't even want to be right. I don't even care.
Yeah.
As long as you live a good life and you're
So you're making Joe's point about instant gratification, that it's taken time,
Right.
and it's the little things, like Joe, you didn't get those arms overnight.
No.
It's going to the gym and working out and putting in the effort.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with our kids. We're not going to get instant gratifications. They're not going to love us right off the bat. They're going to hate us most of their lives.
Yeah.
But they get to a point where it's like, oh wow, cool.
And I love that you said that, because therein lies one of the things when as you know, I've said this many times, I do this. I sit in a dark room by myself and I phase everything
Nobody
out.
wants to be around them, right? Yeah.
And then you always say that. But there's a reason why I do it, is because I honestly don't want anybody else's opinions or thoughts or pictures, nothing to invade my brain. I want to have my own thought about what I'm thinking. And to me, although this may not seem to make sense as all instant gratification, to me it does. Because everything now is instant gratification. You have narcissistic parents wanting to have their kids look good for society immediately. So they do all these things to try to make it easier for the kid, and the kid starts to feel like they have no self-esteem. There's a reason for that. Then as we go on, the parents are modeling a horrible relationship there. Because like you just said, even in parenting, it's not going to be this upward trajectory of I'm loved. It's not going to work like that. It's going to be the most vicious downs you'll ever feel. And then there will be some amazing highs too. But that's what relationships are. And that's what I noticed too in marriage and family therapy, and also listening to people talk and Heidi talk about family and friends. You'll hear it now. It's like, well, okay, we had an argument. I don't know, are you happy? Well, maybe you should think about leaving. Really? Over an argument? Or this is what I've heard now, because I hate to admit this, but I'm middle-aged, so a lot of my friends are middle-aged.
excuse me.
Men tend to slow down sexually as they get older. Women their testosterone relative to their estrogen is higher. So what men were complaining about the first 25 or 30 years of their life, like I want to have sex every day and this girl doesn't, it starts to switch. But as it starts to switch, I hear all these women going with this Oprah mentality. He's slowing down. I think I should get rid of him. Really? Because he didn't get rid of you the last 25 years when he was sitting there by himself all the time when you were going, I'm not in the mood. Now you're in the mood, but you want to get rid of him. So again, we live, and I'm not making that a man against woman. I'm making that as we're getting further into society, we're becoming a more, again, instant gratification society. So now you're putting 50-year-old women in an instant gratification society. And they're dumping men at about a 75 to 80% rate in terms of divorces. And it's because, you can't have a loving relationship without some guy wanting you sexually all the time now? It's like, figure it out. Talk to him. Maybe it's an emotional thing. Men's bodies slow down. Maybe he needs to have a physical. Did you talk to him about that? Or did you just make fun of him and go to the toy store with all your girlfriends to embarrass him even more? Like that, there's no better way to make a guy avoid you more than saying, can't get it up? So
here's my dildo.
Yeah, it's like, it's actually abusive. I mean, I hear that stuff. Listen, as a marriage and family therapist, you hear those things. And you don't want to say it directly to people, but that's actually, I believe it's emotionally abusive. Just like I would say for a man to look at a woman and go, oh my God, you're so frigid. Oh, what's wrong with you? You can't do that to a human being and expect him to be loving towards you. How is that going to work? As a matter of fact, the word frigid is basically ripped out of our language because it is abusive, but it doesn't stop the other way from happening now, So it all affects that. The other thing I was really looking at was music today too. Like, if you're subjected to being in certain places where they're playing music all day long, what you're going to notice is that all the songs are basically sounding the same. So I did some research, and there's actually studies on this. And this isn't the old guy, get off my lawn guy, like the Clint Eastwood, to say our music was better than today's music.
Off my lawn.
But they've actually have done studies on certain things that you can figure out. Here's one. A lot of the times when we get the hook of the song, right, the chorus that really brings us all in, it used to be somewhere in the song. Now it's in the beginning of the song. Why? Because people don't have the attention span to listen to a song, right? The guitar solo in Freebird starts about the 7-minute mark of a 9.5-minute song. In Bohemian Rhapsody, you have to go through piano, you have to go through opera singing. That song would never exist today because people can't handle it. They would only be able to handle the hook, which comes in about 4.5 minutes into that song. So then I did some more super sleuthing. I thought, well, why do all these songs sound the same? So I looked it up. There's a guy named Max Martin, and there's another guy, Dr. Luke. They're responsible for about 85% of the hit songs in the last 15 years. Can you believe that? When you look at Kelly Clarkson, even like the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Katy Perry, all of these pop acts, they're written by two men. People are not writing their own music anymore. And so what they do is that they keep writing pop songs with the hook in the beginning, with fewer words, because people don't have an attention span. So then that made me sad, right? So I started thinking about it. Walter Becker died. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. And I'm not the biggest Steely Dan fan, but let me tell you, if you believe in how you can rewire your brain, if you listen to this homogenized mess that we have today and read the homogenized messes that we have, what you're going to do is you're not going to really have a lot of brain function. And you see this with young people all the time. But if you're 12 years old, like me, like I was, and you hear your first Steely Dan song with jazz chords, piano, improvisation, background singers, at 12 years old, you already can listen to high-level musicians. What does that do to your brain as you get older? It allows you to be open to new experiences. It allows you to be open to things that maybe just because it's popular doesn't make it good. It makes you be okay and have the self-esteem to say, I like what I like. You know, not just what's on the radio, what they're force feeding me. So at the beginning of the show today, if we can get it past the censors, what I did was I played a very young group of guys who was doing a cover of some Who songs, kind of in a punk rock way. And I really enjoyed that because I don't want to make like everything's negative all the time, although everything seems to be about money today and it's all instant gratification. And you can't find good art. It's really difficult. And you can't find really intelligent people anymore, you know, because you're not allowed to think for yourself. So it's always nice to be able to find a group of people here and there that stand out, that are looking back and really looking at the masters and trying to work through that, because it takes a lot of time and effort to master, you know, certain songs, to be a good poet, to be a good writer. It takes a lot to do that. You have to skip past that. And if you can't do that part, you're not going to be good in relationships. You're not going to be a good parent. You're not going to be a good lover. You're not going to be a good anything. And that's kind of what I look at through all this. Do you want to finish up with anything?
No, I think you did a...
No? Let me finish with this, because I was contemplating having a men's group. If you're a man and you're listening to me, you need to know this. If you live a life of instant gratification, you will not be successful, period, end of story. The mark of a man is to be able to delay your gratification. If you think that it's okay to text women or text a girl and that's the way to court a woman, or that's part of your dating process in order to know somebody, you're ridiculous. You know, your parents suck. Let's start with that. And now that you know that and you can accept that, then you need to accept some new information. You need to talk to women, number one. And if you decide, stop watching all porn, because you don't even know how to talk to a woman. So what makes you think that you're going to be some high-level porn star? That's ridiculous, okay? And let's go further. If you believe in instant gratification and you're a man, you will never, and understand this, you will never please a woman, okay? Because it's all about you. It's all about delayed gratification. It's the mark of being a man. It's how to work hard, get an education, and do the right things. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you agree.
I agree.
All right, then. So this has been the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.